This episode of FineScale Modeler's new product rundown features Revell Germany's large-scale Me-262 night fighter, Italeri's Shawnee, Tamiya's Little Elefant, and OzMods' Bristol freighter. New product rundown, proudly brought to you by Hobbyco, distributors of fine model kits from Italeri.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the New Product Rundown. I'm Elizabeth Nash.
And I'm Aaron Skinner. Our packed lineup today begins with Revell Germany's new 1/32 scale two-seat Me-262.
This new toolkit represents the night fighter version of Germany's first jet.
To gain an advantage over fast Allied fighters, several two-seat trainers were fitted with Neptune radar.
Exquisite describes the surface detail with sharp recessed panel lines and petite rivets.
Raised features, such as the panel where the tail meets the fuselage, look spot on.
In 1/32 scale, the 262 is a big model, more than a foot in length and wingspan, and Revell crams in the detail.
The front cockpit features side consoles with molded switches, controls, walls, instrument panel, and seat.
For the radar operator, there's more walls, side consoles, and equipment. The entire crew compartment is enveloped by a cylindrical tub with detail inside and out. Decal instruments and seat belts dress up the crew section.
Up front is a gun compartment jammed with details,
including 4 20mm cannons with ammunition feed tubes and spent shell ejection chutes.
The compartment doors can be posed open or closed.
The nose wheel well and main gear bay are nicely appointed with structural and mechanical details.
The center lower wing houses the bay and doubles as the belly of the airplane. It mates with the outer wing sections at the engines.
Myriad items detail the power plants, including the exterior of the compression and combustion sections. The intake and exhaust nozzle are molded as individual pieces, eliminating awkward filling. There's no provision to display the detail.
All of the control surfaces are separate, with the flaps and leading edge slats designed to be posed extended. Even the rudder trim tab is separate.
Landing gear struts, hubs, and wheels look terrific. The last have great tread and sidewall moldings.
The antennas for the radar are delicate but show outstanding scale fidelity.
The canopies have tabs to hold them at the correct angle if posed open. The windshield is molded with part of the forward fuselage and separates at the panel line. The clear sprue also supplies lights and the gun sight.
Decals provide markings for two night fighters at Schleswig at the end of World War II in May 1945. There's not a lot besides the national insignia, but the sheet includes a host of stencils.
There's a lot to see in this attractive box, and I'll be interested to see how it all goes together.
As well as if this is the first in a line of new Me-262s from Revell Germany. From Italeri, we have a 1/48 scale H-21 Shawnee.
Built by Piasecki and widely known as the Flying Banana for its distinctive shape, the Shawnee first flew in 1952.
Yeah, it served as a troop carrier with French forces in Algeria in the 1950s and with U.S. forces in Vietnam in the early 1960s.
Both Special Hobby and Fonderie Miniatures have released short-run multimedia kits of this famous chopper.
Right. This is the first injection molded kit from a mainstream manufacturer since the Helicopters and Industry Shawnee was released in 1952. That kit was subsequently reissued by Aurora.
And Italeri's done a nice job. Exterior detail combines fine rivets, recessed panel lines, and sharp raised straps and window frames.
Both doors are separate and posable.
Leaving them open reveals the impressive interior. The troop compartment comprises floor, bulkheads, ducting, and webbing seats.
There's faint structural framing molded on the walls, as well as a few ejector pin marks to remove.
The flight deck features pilot seats, control sticks and collectives, pedals, and an instrument panel with decal instruments. Behind the cockpit is a rack of radios and avionics.
Aft of the bend is a pretty nice representation of the Wright 1820 radial engine with a cylinder bank, gearbox, exhaust collector, and more.
That all sits in frames, and the engine access hatches can be posed open.
The kit includes optional vertical stabilizers, but there's no indication as to which is appropriate for the kit's marking options.
Beautifully molded landing gear struts, and with weighted wheels.
The rotor blades come with molded sag and fit sharp-looking heads.
A small photo etch fret provides screens to fill the vents above the engine, harnesses for the pilot seats, and an engine support.
The Shawnee carries a lot of windows, and Italeri nails them, especially the large one-piece nose section with sharp frames and rivets.
Decals provide markings for a U.S. Army H-21C Shawnee in Vietnam in 1963, a U.S. Air Force H-21 Workhorse, and a French Navy H-21B in Algeria in 1956. The decals look terrific, but the registration is slightly off on our sample.
With good detail and moldings, Italeri's 1/48 scale H-21 is steps ahead of anybody else's Shawnee at the moment.
And it's a great foundation for a detailed replica.
Next, let's take a look at Tamiya's 148 scale Elefant.
This is a scaled-down version of the 135th scale German heavy tank destroyer Tamiya released in 2012.
The hull consists of a lower plate, separate sides, and front and rear plates. The engine deck features deeply molded grills.
Well-molded drive sprockets and toothed idlers sandwich polycaps and remain movable. Unlike the 135th scale kit, the road wheels will be glued to the suspension units.
Lincoln length tracks ground the Elefant and include sag for the upper run.
The casemate includes sharply molded hatches, mounting bosses, and bolts. It's places like this where differences between this kit and its larger cousin are obvious. Parts, such as the mantlet surround and rear hatch, are molded in place here, simplifying assembly.
The gun is molded as a single part except for the muzzle brake, which comes halved. Tools and hatches look good, and there's a commander figure.
One thing not found in the bigger kit is weight for the hull. Tamiya supplies 4 metal cylinders and brackets to lock them into the lower hull.
There's also thread for the tow cables.
Decals provide markings for a single Elefant in Italy in May 1944.
Just as for the 135th scale kit, Tamiya sells self-adhesive Zimmerit matched to the kit.
Simply cut along the printed lines and press the sections into place.
Tamiya's delightful 148 scale armor kits build quickly and easily, so this kit should be welcomed by fans of the Elefant.
We'll be right back after this message of cultural significance. Late night, winter wind howls against the workshop window. One more part, then bed.
What shade olive drab? All too yellow, green, or brown. Use photos? They lie.
Blood spurts from fingertip. Keen number 11 blade slipped to part the skin.
How shall I explain building plastic kits? On opening the box, you dream of the whole. While some contain many, many bits, others have fewer to control. With solvent glue, the parts do join. It melts, dissolves along the plastic seam as I sit and flip a dollar coin. Then squeeze, and liquid styrene like cream emerges from the glue-filled gap. Then set it aside to dry like wine-bound grapes. And return with hobby knife on tap. As you draw it along the seam it scrapes. To finish the new join takes little more than a sanding stick, or 2 or 4.
Feeling inspired? Send us your modeling sonnet, haiku, or free verse. If we like it, we'll read it on an upcoming FSM Poetry Slam.
Now, I love building airliners, and the next subject has been high on my most wanted list for a while, a 1:144 scale Bristol 170 freighter.
This one comes from Australian manufacturer OzMods.
Designed in the mid-1940s, the freighter could carry about 15,000 pounds of cargo.
More than 200 were built, and they hauled both military and civilian loads in countries around the world. The last revenue flights took place in Canada in the early 2000s.
Typical of short-run kits, the Bristol freighter is recommended for experienced modelers. The white plastic parts have large sprue gates, but the surface detail is fine recessed panel lines and window outlines.
The kit provides a decent cockpit with relief-molded instrument panel, seats, and controls.
All of the windows are molded solid, including the cockpit, but an injection-molded plastic and 2 vacuum-formed glazings are provided to show the flight deck. Instructions indicate how to cut the fuselage for the clear parts.
The vertical stabilizer is molded in halves, and the horizontal tail is a single part that slips through holes in the rear fuselage.
The wing comes in 6 parts, 3 up and 3 down, making it easy to introduce the slight dihedral needed for the outer sections. A grainy texture marks these parts, but it should be easily filled with primer and sanding.
A single outer ring cleans up the front of the 2-part engine nacelles.
The engines are simple faces, almost hidden behind spinners and 4-blade props. Resin pins secure the propellers.
Decals provide markings for 2 civilian freighters, one from British United and the other from New Zealand carrier Safe Air.
This kit is also available in military configuration with markings for British and New Zealand Air Force freighters. Obviously it's not for beginners, but OzMods Bristol freighter looks like fun nonetheless.
Does that mean we can expect to see a review?
Probably, along with the ME262 and Shawnee. Look for those in upcoming issues of FineScale Modeler magazine.
And you can see more new products in the March issue, shipping out February 7th.
Thanks for visiting FineScale.com. I'm Aaron Skinner.
And I'm Elizabeth Nash, and don't forget to send us your poetry. The troop compartment comprises floor, bulkheads, ducting, ducting, there we go, ducting and webbing seats. Good, right? Now.